Live to tape.
Welcome to Millennial Season 2, Episode 4. I'm Andrew.
I'm Elisa.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Matt.
How's everybody doing? Rabbit to y'all.
Yeah.
Oh, rabbit Groundhog Day.
Yep. In the season of love. I just want to, before we move on to the rest of the show, I know we're only 10 seconds in, but before we move on, I just want to apologize for the audio issues last week. Not proud of that. Not happy with myself. So... Good.
That's okay. We're not happy with you either.
Yeah, go to hell, Andrew.
You probably all were talking shit behind my back, and you know what? I understand.
No, we definitely were. It's fine.
Yeah, it's true.
Like 110%.
All right. We are doing Guess Who's Drinking this week, so listen to each of us carefully. One of us is secretly drinking as we record. Oh. As we record. So, we will have a poll going on our Twitter, twitter.com/millennial show, and in our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/millennial show. Last time everybody got it wrong. Everybody thought it was Laura.
I wonder why.
And it was me. So,
I mean, it's
so weird. It's not like I sound like I'm drunk all the time.
It was a valid guess. Like, let's be honest. Like, I would have guessed it.
Well,
right.
you and I have a very sordid history, Matthew. So
we do.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. No, we won't, but we'll bring it up at another episode or something. I have a feeling that's not going to stay a secret.
We got a mixed bag, I would say, of content this week. We are going to talk about Iowa, of course. We're going to take a couple of associate producer choices, catch up on a couple of those. And we have a new game as well. But first, I wanted to ask you guys, did you see Grease live on Fox the other night?
I kind of did, actually.
Well, the reason I wanted to mention it is that it was really good. NBC has now done 3 live musicals. First one was The Sound of Music. The second one was Peter Pan. And the third was The Wiz. And they were all good, but they were kind of like, you go on Twitter and you make fun of it the whole time. That's what those 3 were. And so they got huge ratings for NBC. So Fox decided to follow. They announced Grease Live a year and a half ago. And lo and behold, it ended up being really, really, really good. First of all, it's obviously a great musical. Everybody's familiar with Grease and the songs that come with it. But the production was so remarkable. Anybody who watches this will probably be blown away. That's my opinion on it, at least. It starred Aaron Tveit as Danny, Julianne Hough as Sandy, and Vanessa Hudgens as Rizzo. And what was so remarkable about it was that you were really in the middle of the action, and they had multiple sets, including a big one outdoors and a couple indoors. And it was just amazing how they moved in and out between songs and put the camera in the center of the action. I was just really in love with it. So definitely check it out if you're into musicals at all, if you haven't already.
It wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't great, but No, I agree though. I mean, like, I wasn't as excited and no, fuck it. Like, it was okay. Like, it was for a live musical that they'd done. It's definitely the best of the previous ones.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I just think they should stop
With live musicals?
I think, well, they don't have to do it every year.
Well, money talks, so.
I do.
But you're wrong.
You have to give Vanessa Hudgens, though, a lot of credit. Like, her, little trivia, her father passed away the day before the show aired. So.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And
so she had
that and pulled it off anyway. Did a great job.
She was, you could tell she was getting through it, though. Like, she was just ready to get the whole show over with. So it was kind of sad. Especially there's that one song that her character has to sing that's kind of sad.
In more positive musical news, I saw Book of Mormon in New York last week. Have any of you seen this?
Yes.
I haven't.
I have not.
Well, it was funny as fuck, first of all. I'm sure, Elisa, you loved it to death.
Fucking amazing.
I've actually listened to the soundtrack, which is kind of weird, but I loved it. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's a hilarious take on religion in general. But I just wanted to bitch about something really quick. So I saw it on Broadway, and it was exciting to see a musical on Broadway. It's been a while since I've done that. And so me and my friend Richard, who I mentioned last week, we were pre-gaming before the show, and then we decided, okay, we'll get one more drink at the musical. And so we get in, and we go to the bar, and Richard orders, I'm buying for both of us, and Richard orders first, and he gets a double of, I don't know, vodka and something. And so the bartender turns to me and was like, okay, what do you want? I was like, well, shit, he got a double. I'll get a double too. So they give us they give us the drinks in like these plastic sippy cups so you can drink it in the theater itself.
Whoa, you can drink in the theater?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
And he turns to me, the bartender, and with a smile on his face, he says, $57? $57 for 2 fucking drinks! I was shocked!
Welcome to New York!
No, that's
It's been waiting for you!
That's pretty basic.
No, it is not. Not for 2 drinks in sippy cups.
No, 2 doubles.
2 doubles.
You're telling me 57 divided by 2. You're telling me a single double drink costs $28 anywhere?
No, but
a single drink
a double drink is basically 2 drinks.
Yeah,
so you had 4 drinks.
So each drink is $14.25.
No.
And you order a double, that's double the shot.
Yeah.
You pay for the shot.
Just the shot, not double the juice. Anyway, I was disgusted. These fucking cups didn't even have the name of the theater on them. Or at least put Book of Mormon. Give me a souvenir cup. That's a random theater name I wasn't even in.
This is why you bring a flask.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, if you want to do something that'll make you kind of happy this month, Andrew, you can join the Millennial Book Club. That is already starting, actually. We selected our book. We are reading The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. Super interesting so far. Matt, I know you're reading it as well.
I am.
I'm about 100 pages in at this point, and it's just like a very, very engrossing story. I don't want to give away any spoilers for people who haven't started yet, but please join us. We're going to have discussions throughout the month, and then at the end of the month, we're going to have a Google Hangout and talk about it.
Woo! I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be great. I honestly do. It's probably one of our better ideas.
All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. It is Iowa. The big Iowa caucus was held on Monday night. But before we get into the results and what they mean, we wanted to offer a overview of what the hell caucuses and primaries are.
Yes. So we saw a lot of confusion in our Facebook group over the Iowa caucuses on Monday, and we really wanted to try and provide a sort of Reader's Digest version of what a caucus even is and why Iowa gets so much damn attention. So why is Iowa so important? Because between some rule changes, deadline issues, and I'm not even kidding here, a lack of hotel room availability, Iowa ended up being the first state to hold a caucus or primary in 1972. It's not only tradition at play, though. Iowa state law dictates that its caucuses have to be the first event to really kick off election season. So even if another state did try to schedule their event earlier, Iowa would simply schedule their caucuses earlier than that in order to be first. So if you weren't aware of this before, you're probably starting to see why campaigning in the state starts so early and goes on so long.
Then the next question a lot of people have is, what is a caucus even? And how is it different from a primary? Well, caucuses actually used to be more commonly used than primaries, but today only a handful of states still use them. But primaries tend to be less confusing because they're more straightforward. Primaries are pretty similar to the general election process where voters cast secret ballots for the candidate of their choosing. A caucus, on the other hand, is not a secret vote. In fact, it's super public. People who are caucusing openly demonstrate their support for a candidate within their party by just sort of shuffling to whichever side of the room represents their chosen candidate. The results are then used to determine the configuration of delegates at the nominating conventions. It's basically just another way for states to voice their support for a candidate, but instead of casting direct votes, the people cast votes that are then used to determine the number of delegates that each candidate gets And then those delegates move forward to the nominating convention and vote on the people's behalf.
But where things get really confusing is with the parties themselves. The Democrats and Republicans have completely different systems of tallying votes. The Republicans are actually pretty efficient. You show up, write the name of your preferred candidate on a piece of paper, and drop it in a bucket. The votes are then counted by hand, and whoever gets the most votes wins.
But the Democrats, if you want a lesson in inefficiency, these are the people you want to talk to. Caucus goers must physically stand in some arbitrary area of the room, which has been designated as their candidate's corner. If you watched coverage of Iowa on Monday, you probably saw churches with Bernie signs on one side and Hillary signs on the other, with a bunch of people cloistered in each half of the room. There is then a 30-minute aligning period in which caucus goers can try to convince one another to literally come to their side. Come to the dark side with me and Hillary. A candidate must then meet a viability threshold of 15% in order to be counted. So in poor Martin O'Malley's case, his supporters either had the opportunity to join another candidate's group or try to convince other people to join them. And as we'll talk about in a minute, Martin decided that things aren't going well for him last night.
No, not at all. No.
Right. Things were definitely not going very well for him last night. As we saw, I think he was bouncing back and forth between like 0%.
0%.
0% and 0.
He got up to 0.5. We'll give him that.
Well, he's out of the race now as a result, so.
Yes, yeah. Oh,
Bye, Martin.
shock. Spoiler alert. Don't ruin this for the people at home. So we did kind of want to give a second to raise some feedback we got from Anna. She's actually from Iowa, and last night, or rather Monday night, she attended her first Democratic caucus. And she said that she left quite conflicted. On the one hand, it was great to see the process firsthand and meet other voters. However, I also left feeling like there was a lot of human error involved. And like maybe a caucus isn't the most efficient or fairest way to do things in this day and age. For example, this happened in my district, and she provided a link there to the many districts actually that used coin tosses in order to determine who won because Bernie and Hillary tied evenly. She also says, the seemingly simple task of counting how many supporters for each candidate were in attendance turned into this massively confusing blob of one random guy winding his way through the sea of people, silently counting and then reporting his number, no double checking, no actual accurate count. There were over 500 people there. It's 2016. Isn't there a more accurate way?
To play devil's advocate for a second, though, isn't that kind of the joy of it? It's like old school America.
Well, it's grassroots, right? I mean, so it's kind of a really interesting, I think, case study of humanity. I really enjoyed watching it, and I've always really enjoyed watching the Iowa caucus, but I do think it's a fair point to bring up. I mean, this is the state that has a lot of influence on who the potential candidate might be. They don't always have the final say, but a lot of times they end up being correct.
Yeah.
It's fucking stupid. That's what it is. And
I was trying to be diplomatic, but
no, it's fucking ridiculous. And I want to point out there's a lot of people, particularly international listeners, who are like, how is this even democratic? A coin toss? How is that any better than just like a pissing contest? Like, why don't you just do that, America?
It's not.
That's a problem.
The reason I want to explain that the reason that it's so convoluted right now is because this actually isn't an election in any legal constitutional sense. This has zero to do with, the general or anything like that. This is just to pick the party's nominee. And therefore, the parties have complete 100% control over how things are happening here. So the Democratic Party gets to choose, hey, are we just going to have a duel to the death? Do you have to play a super good game of Monopoly and then you win? Like, they can do that. They can do whatever they want. And it's really not undemocratic from a legal constitutional standpoint, because we can start a party. Me and Andrew tomorrow could go out and say, we're running on a ticket and we're going to be called, Millennial. And the way we're going to choose who wins our nominating process is by who gives the best blowjob. So get ready.
I would win. I already know.
Right, of course. We could do that. Anybody could do that. I think the problem is a lot of people don't realize that this process is controlled 100% by the parties and not states or any legal entities.
Well, and I think people also wonder too, like, why do the parties have so much power? I mean, another example of what they can do is they can actually penalize a state by not seating their delegates during the national convention later in the year if they don't follow whatever rules they've set up. So, like, for instance, if a state tries to go and have their primary or caucus before Iowa, which is like sacrilege in the world of American politics, the parties will punish them for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's important to think of our political parties as being private clubs, or even like, let's just say a church, for example. So churches form their own hierarchies as well. So if there's a pastor who tells, whoever, like, a member of their congregation, you should do this, or if you don't do this, I'm not going to baptize your child, or et cetera, et cetera. They get to make those rules. It's not a legal issue. It's a private organization. They can do what they want the same way the four of us can do what we want on this show. There is no distinction. There's no difference. And I think if we have a problem with that, then the solution is frankly not to be involved with the parties, to not affiliate yourself with the party and to say, I don't want to be in your private shitty little club.
Aren't you being a little harsh on the caucus though? I mean, I think it's important because it is the first vote and it builds momentum. Now but Cruz has some momentum, and Trump has been hurt. He's wounded. You saw him be a little humble last night when he gave his speech after the votes came in. So they have this momentum now, Cruz in particular, the Democratic side not so much, and they can build on that. And finally, we have some results. We have some voices finally putting pen to paper and saying, here's who I want to see be president.
But why? Yes. Okay, this is my question though about all this cock. Is that why does this happen within 5 months? Like, I know that Iowa is supposed to go first. That's fine, but why does it go all the way into June? Why can't all this shit just happen in 1 month? Because after this one caucus, like, I'm already exhausted. I don't want to. Then we have New Hampshire that's next. Then we have Super Tuesday, and then we have 49 other states. Why does this have to happen like within the span of 5 months? It doesn't need to.
Well, no, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
For one, though, I would say the candidates need time to go into each state and spend time, county by county. I mean, I know Cruz was boasting a lot about having visited every county in Iowa. Did that help necessarily? It didn't hurt. So they need time there. I know television and media, they like spreading it out across multiple nights because they're going to sell more ads if they're doing this 10 times as opposed to just one.
Yeah, but like at this point, since we already started voting, like we should already, like the candidates should already have said what they needed to say at this point. So who cares who's winning in one state? So then they have to try harder. Like that's not how it should run. It should be that at this point, we should all just get our candidates, our primary candidates already voted on. So now we can actually pay attention to the people that we actually should give a shit about.
Well, we actually this is an AP choice question. So before I have something to say about that, but before we get to that, what about the results? Let's just talk about that. Andrew, Republican side, you cover that shit because I can't even touch it.
Oh, I didn't watch last night. Somebody else.
Oh, you're so full of shit.
Oh my God.
Oh, I was tuned into CNN. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So Cruz, like I said, won with 27.6% of the vote. Trump came in second with 24.3%. Close behind was Marco Rubio with 23%. And then Carson came in fourth with 9%. What actually stunned me about the results most was that Rubio and Trump came so close to one another. Trump with 24.3, Rubio with 23.1, despite Trump having all this attention, all this time the media has been talking about him, all this hoopla over his big events and so many people turning out for them, and yet he comes in second and only about 1 percentage point away from third place. That just really surprised me.
Well, and the thing that was really surprising about it, too, was just how well Rubio did. I mean, he was projected to be in third place. So as long as he got third place or above, he was doing great last night. So even though he still came in third, he barely came in third. So this is going to give him a lot of momentum. And it kind of freaks me out because I think he's more of a viable candidate, personally, for the Republican side. And I would not want to see President Rubio. And I feel like Marco Rubio running in a presidential race could maybe have some advantages. So I'm kind of like, no, nominate Ted Cruz, please.
Well, that's a fair point. Do you guys think, real quick, that Trump was hurt by the fact that he skipped that Fox GOP debate last week?
I don't know, because the really interesting thing was they were reporting last night that evangelicals were splitting 50-50 between Trump and Cruz, which I found kind of interesting, because they were really expecting all the evangelicals to go for Cruz, and then half of them go for Trump.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it necessarily hurt him. I think the thing with caucuses, especially in Iowa, so much of it is about your ground game. So like you may be high in the polls everywhere else, but then if you've got a good ground game in Iowa, you can win. I mean, look at previous winners. Rick Santorum won.
So funny in hindsight.
I mean, yeah, like when has he ever done super well in a poll? Never, right? But he was really organized in Iowa. He had his shit together. So, I mean, Huckabee won Iowa.
Right.
And then, last night he was like 2%.
And then he dropped out. Yeah.
He dropped out.
Too good. So then, how are things looking on the Democratic side, Elisa?
Wow. We don't quite know 100%.
They called it today.
They called it for Hillary Clinton today, but it was incredibly close. In fact, it was the closest of any Iowa caucus ever in history. So I think
it was so incredibly close.
Yeah,
like 0.3 of a percentage point.
0.3. Yeah, she had like 49.8%, I think, at last count, or 49.9, and then he and Bernie Sanders had 49.6.
I think it was, at least in my time, I think it was around like midnight, and like they said that they had all 100% of all the votes in, and they still hadn't declared a winner.
And the reason for that is because it's so easy, as we've just been discussing, it's so easy to miscount here and for there to be so much confusion and, who won this coin toss or who won this duel? Like, we just don't know. So they have to go back and like kill someone else and, they start from scratch. I don't know. But yeah, it was incredibly tight. And I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about Sanders and Clinton being so neck and neck?
Well,
go ahead.
I just want to mention, I need to call out Laura for a second. We were talking in our millennial host group chat last night, and Laura was so confident that Clinton was going to pull away easily, and Clinton didn't have the early lead as the results started coming in, and then Sanders started creeping up, and before you knew it, CNN had to add the 10th decimal point onto their results because they were so damn close. And I was getting excited. I thought Sanders may pull ahead. And I'm not necessarily a Sanders supporter. I personally, I don't know who the fuck to vote for this early on. But I wanted to see Sanders win because his fan base or his supporters are so passionate. I wanted that they deserved this win, and I wanted to see their egos jump to the next level after beating Hillary in fucking Iowa.
Well, I'll tell you what, their egos should be jumping to the next level right now because even though he didn't technically win, he overperformed. Even if he had come out 1 or 2 percentage points below her, he still would have done incredibly well. And I think the Sanders campaign has done an awesome job in Iowa. I think it's going to give them great momentum going into New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. I think he'll probably win in New Hampshire as a result of this. However, once you start going into more diverse parts of the country where it's not 99% white liberal people, he may not do so well. And I hate to say that to be like the person who rains on the Sanders parade, because I like Bernie Sanders. I think he's great. If he got the nomination, I would absolutely vote for him. He's just not my preferred candidate. And I also do want to point out, I mean, even though they call it for Hillary, it really was effectively a tie. I mean, Hillary walked away with only 5 more delegates than Sanders. So really not that big of a difference.
That's an important note as well, because Iowa used to be a winner-take-all state, at least for the Democrats. So if this had been just, a few years ago, then Hillary just would have won outright all of the delegates. But that's not what happened here. They changed it. Actually, I think it was just last year they announced that they were changing it to be proportional. So this, in a lot of ways, is still a big win for Bernie, because it doesn't give her the massive advantage that it used to give candidates when it used to be winner take all.
Would you have expected Sanders to do so well in Iowa, though? If he can do this well in Iowa, then I think he can do well anywhere.
Well, as Laura mentioned, Iowa is
white liberal.
Well, not just that, but Iowa really depends on your ground game. It's very grassroots oriented. And if there's one thing Sanders has going for him, it's grassroots. I mean, that's his bread and butter. So I think he did exceptionally well there. In part because, frankly, it's just a fucking impressive campaign. Going up against the Clinton machine, like as ingrained as they are in our political structure and as much incredible backing as they have financially, this should have been a cakewalk, and it wasn't. So part of it is just kudos to the Sanders campaign for being so fucking efficient and getting their message out, but also because they're better at grassroots. But I think he will struggle in states where it's not as grassroots oriented.
I think the results coming this close, 49.9 to 0.6, will help Sanders with turnout greatly in the future, because his people are so motivated. They love putting the bumper stickers on the back of the cars. I see them more than any other bumper sticker. They will turn out now because they're like, oh shit, look how close we were to beating Hillary. We can't let that happen again. Like Laura said, New Hampshire probably going to win. And then after that, I think his base is going to be really motivated to not see another tie. I mean, if you were watching the Bernie supporters last night, they were losing their minds watching it get this close. They really wanted to see him win. And I think they're going to make sure that happens in future votes and not be so close. So, moving on, like we said, New Hampshire is going to be February 9th, less than a week away. And of course, we'll talk about that on season 2, episode 5 of Millennial. 5. I just wanted to mention how accurate are these caucuses? I mean, we were talking earlier about why the hell we do them. For the record, Iowa has picked 5 of 5 Democratic nominees and 3 of 5 Republican nominees since 1996. New Hampshire has correctly selected 4 of 5 Democratic nominees and 3 of 5 Republican nominees, again, since 96. When I say select, I mean they select the person who ended up receiving the nomination. So I just wanted to include one other thing here. This is a little sidebar. Of course, all the networks last night were doing their wall-to-wall coverage of the election, and MSNBC had their mic on this group of people. And listen to this, and listen to MSNBC's reaction.
He doesn't want to ship them overseas and then bring them back when they're not taken care of. What I want to know is how, because I get VA. I am VA. I am a vet. My mom's a vet. How is he going to fix it? Because I can tell you right now that the VA is more screwed up than it has been in a while. The fact that I haven't gotten benefits in 3 months because the VA is so fucked up really makes me concerned. So how is that?
They pull the mic away.
The thing is that if you can't, Bernie's whole idea on this is that if you can't
when you listen into caucuses, you take the good with the bad.
Sorry about that.
People often speak the way they do out on the street.
They just start apologizing profusely. The reporter there on the ground just starts shaking his head, being like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just let that to air."
Who gives a shit?
The fact they said that you take the good and you take the bad, like it wasn't.
That was the good. That was the best.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Right.
Was he saying that people talk the way they do on the street? As though, I'm pretty sure I heard him say that. And I'm just like, no, I don't just talk that way on the street. I talk that way. I mean, this is kind of my job right now. I talk that way in my job.
Yeah, but my point just is, let's stop freaking out over stuff like that happening on TV. Brian Williams.
Man, we should really try and get Millennial aired on their shit. Let's see how they feel about that.
Fucking millennials. If somebody can drop that into a live airing, fucking millennials. Yeah. Lifetime subscription to Patreon for you.
Listener challenge. Yeah, seriously, listener challenge.
Okay, so speaking of Patreon, we have a couple of AP Choice questions here related to what we just discussed. We mentioned the first one earlier from Riss. Next one comes from Ashley. How do you guys feel about the elections in general? For instance, if your decided candidate doesn't win, would you vote the party line, abstain, or vote for the opposing party?
It concerns me that this is such a valid question, because how would you do anything in this particular election? Do anything other than vote for whoever your party puts up. Now, I don't think that's the case in every election. I think there are plenty of times where abstaining is a completely legitimate vote in and of itself. Or if you really if like the person that your party puts up as president is like the devil, you don't want to vote for that person. But in this case, in this particular instance, whether it's Hillary or Bernie, how would you not vote for one of them over Trump or Cruz? How would you not do that? And abstaining in that case is effectively a vote for Trump or Cruz. And likewise, if you're a Republican and you really, really support Cruz, let's say, how could you ostensibly support Sanders? How could you be like, oh, you know what? I was really hoping Cruz wins, but he didn't. I'm stuck with Trump. I guess I just gotta vote for Sanders now. Like, how, I don't understand people rationalize that.
It seems like it's almost a punishment that they feel that is deserving if people do not get the vote that they want.
It will depend, of course, on who the candidates end up being, but personally, if I'm going to go with my gut, I will probably stick with my party line. Switching to the opposing party, unless you happen to really like that person, I don't see why you would do that.
I'm pretty sure that the four of us do lean towards the Democratic side. And
of course.
I do think that what's really great about the argument that we have in our party with these two delegates is that we do have two pretty amazing candidates.
Yes.
Like whether you lean towards one than the other, you have to admit that it's pretty great to know that our party does have two pretty solid candidates. That I'd be okay with voting for either of them.
I'm going to write in Uncle Joe on my ballot come November.
Wasted vote. So here's the thing. Elisa and I were actually talking about this the other day. I really hate that I feel like we're at a point in history where I sort of have to vote along party lines, because at this point, this Republican Party stands for everything that I am against. Mm-hmm. And I feel like casting a vote for any Republican at this point is casting a vote against myself. Mm-hmm. So no, at this point in history, I would never vote Republican.
You know what particularly scares me? The Supreme Court justice nominations. That's the thing that really spooks me.
Because those fuckers are there forever.
Oh God. And such important decisions, like the gay marriage thing last year. Like, oh my God. I have nightmares just as a thought of what Republican nominated Supreme Court justice would do.
Right. And there's going to be a number. I think we talked about this one time about how old the current bench is getting. Yeah. They're estimating at least 3 Supreme Court justices retiring under the next president. I remember my AP government teacher in high school when I was first getting into all this shit. He said to me, if you ever get to meet a presidential candidate or ask a question at a debate, there's only one question you need to ask that will tell you everything you need to know about them. And that is, describe the type of Supreme Court justice that you would nominate. And you'll get a lot of meat on the bones of that answer just from that one question.
Not that they'll ever answer that, of course. But no, but here's my thing. And genuinely, I have voted for Republican candidates in the past, not in presidential elections, but in local elections. I'm not anti-Republican just because of the name. I don't care about that. If the Republican Party could seriously have a splinter and have all these crazy Tea Party fuckers go off and do their own thing, and then actually come back to being sort of the right of center, pragmatic, rational party that we know they can be, and they put up a moderate candidate who was pro small government and didn't want to try and like climb up in my uterus to make sure that I didn't have any babies up there, I might vote for that candidate. Mm-hmm. But that's not who they are right now.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait for the head-to-head debates. It's gonna get
great.
The social issues, I think that's what's really gonna kill them, and the Republicans, their responses. Anyway, one last question here. This comes from Anna. Oh, no, we already read this.
No, we already did this.
All right. Well, let's move on to AP Choices. I'm dying. Speaking of voices, Hillary and Bernie, if I was voting for these candidates based on their voice, I would go Republican. They both have the most annoying voices I have heard in recent memory.
Who in the Republican Party? Yeah. Like, who in the Republican Party would you choose then?
His voice is passable at least. Hillary and Bernie, they're just yelling, and Hillary's like, rah, rah, rah. And Bernie's like, rah, rah, rah. And they're both groggly, and it's like, oh my God, I gotta put this on
groggly.
Mute. It's really bad. Last night, I was really getting fed up with Hillary. Anyway, let's move on now to AP Choices outside of politics. Yes, believe it or not, this show can talk about things that aren't politics. This is a great one. This is from Kelsey, inspired by our wait but why idea. She has a couple of suggestions for this segment. The illegality of the female nipple versus the male nipple. Simple question. Why the hell are we so afraid of the female nipple being out at the beach, but males flop their nipples out at the beach, no matter how gross they are?
I think it's because
flop,
generally speaking, or at least referring to our normal societal gender norms that we accept, the female nipple is considered to be a sexual thing that turns people on. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, I'm sorry, guys, there's nothing attractive about your nipples. Like, they do nothing for me. So.
All right. Well, that's fair. But I was actually just going to say, I think for gays, it's more attractive. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, think about the gay people for once, Laura.
Yeah, Laura.
Hey, listen, I try. Jeez. I try to check my privilege.
That's a fucking joke. I'm not going to tell you. Being serious.
No, and I actually, for a second, I was like, oh no, I didn't even think about that because, like, of, heteronormativity and things, whatever. Yeah, just move on.
Yeah, putting you on mute. Well, and conversely, women full frontal. You see that all the time on television, yet you rarely see male full frontal. I mean, not all the time on television, but like HBO, Showtime, they'll do full frontal female nudity all the time.
Yeah, and when they do show full frontal on men, like, it's always flaccid. Doesn't that piss you off?
And it's always like for a split.
It's like
second.
there's usually because like usually when you see peen, it's always like during or after a sex session. Peen, penis.
Oh, okay.
So but I say peen.
You should mention too that it's not every culture feels this way. I mean, there are a lot of cultures in Africa, for example, where the women just let them titties run free, and it's not a big deal. So it's definitely like a culture stigma. Mm-hmm. I am all good with like females going topless. I don't know why it's such a big deal. I'll never forget the fucking Super Bowl when Justin Timberlake ripped that weird little fucking pirate,
the pirate eye patch
off of her nipple, and everyone, had a field day about it. And I just thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah. That I kind of understood because families are watching, and with kids, you don't really show any.
Yeah, but guess what?
Kids have
it's a tit, and chances are, when you were a baby, you got close and personal with one of those big bad boys. So
I was just gonna say, have a closer, reminiscence of when they were sucking on their mom's titties than adults did. Like, that was like 5 or 6 years ago. That was mine.
I take back what I said. It just contradicted everything. Because if it was Justin Timberlake's tit, nobody would have complained.
Well, because but you're right, Andrew. Your reaction to that is exactly what Laura was saying. The reason that it was not family friendly is because people perceive the woman's boob to be sexual in nature. That's why.
And you don't even fuck tits. Oh, sorry.
I mean, you
don't
can.
even fuck boobs.
You totally can.
I guess, but
Laura's like, would you like a demonstration?
No, I think Laura's like, don't you remember?
Yeah, the answer to that riddle is yes.
This reminds me, we talked about getting close to a tit a minute ago, and remember my lesson to all of you about a gold star gay? I think I educated Elisa on that. I recently heard the phrase platinum star gay. Are you ready for what this means? This means you were born via C-section and you ended up gay. So in other words, you never even touched a vagina coming out of your mother. You've never touched a vagina. That is a platinum star gay.
Wow.
This is getting weird. Is this getting weird? Platinum star. But I feel like why is it a platinum star? Why is that such a fantastic thing that you never touched a vagina?
It just means
if you don't like them.
No.
It just means you were such a pure gay. Like,
no, fuck that.
No, that's not purity.
What kind of weird? Okay, listen. This is my promise to you. Okay, if I ever meet a platinum star gay, I'm rubbing my cooch all over them. That's what's gonna go down because I'm sick of this shit. I think it's weird.
I love it. I like being a gold star gay.
You are not a gold star gay. Were you born? Was it a C-section?
No, platinum star. I don't know if I'm a platinum star gay, but I know I'm a gold star gay, and that means you've never had sex with a woman.
All right, Andrew.
Okay.
Well, okay, fine, but I'm taking you to task on this next time I see you.
All right. One more AP choice. This is from Melissa. What I would like you guys to discuss is going back many months to when Laura was describing voting practices in Costa Rica. Oh, we are talking politics again. And everyone was wishing it was more like that here. I've been really taken with the idea of making Election Day more like the Super Bowl. Even people that aren't into sports/politics still get the day off, cast their votes, go to their friend's house, and watch the results. Elisa and Laura seem like they know better than I do how to start a movement. So is this something we could actually move toward? How do we start? Petition our employers to make it a paid holiday? Try to get big companies to spend extra effort on their ads that day? Just invite our friends to make it a party? Seriously, we could even make it a hashtag. Then Melissa suggests hashtag Super Bowl Election Day. What do you guys think of this?
I think we can totally do it.
To be clear, I barely know how to start my car, let alone a movement. But yeah, I love this idea though. Super Bowl election. Hashtag Super Bowl election. I think it's fantastic.
Especially when you think about like what days we do take off for. President's Day?
Columbus Day? Are you fucking kidding me? We take Columbus Day, but not Election Day?
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
But the Republicans wouldn't want this, right? Because there would be more people voting, which would mean, more people voting Democrat. Is that right?
Generally speaking, if more people vote, the results tend to be favorable for Democrats.
Right.
But I think that if the Republican Party would just get its shit together, that could be very different. And I think you're right. The Republican Party, as it stands right now, would probably not be for this. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I think that we can take small steps to start stuff like this on our own. Have your own election parties. Hold a house party. Invite people. Put it up on social media. If you can ask for paid time off work and you want to ask for that on election day, do that. Yeah. I mean, if we start doing it and it becomes a trend, then who knows what we can change.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I think if you everyone should just start taking election day off, regardless. If everyone, that's how you start it. I don't think you're going to convince Congress to pass the legislation initially. I think that there needs to be a mass showing of support first. So if you want to use that, if you want to put that hashtag to good use it to convince people across different states and different regions to use a paid vacation day for that. And once legislators see that there's mass support for it, they'll have to follow. We don't follow legislators. They follow us. They follow the vote. They do what we say because then they don't get reelected. So they have to see that there's support for it, and then it'll happen.
Moving on now to, this is a new segment here on Millennial. I'm calling it Snapchat Choice. So, I recently hoarded out my Snapchat account to the Millennial group on Facebook, when I made regrettable decisions on New Year's Eve. And, I had a lot of people following my horrific night in which I drank too much and then ruined myself for the next day. Anyway, Holden Jones, he's a Millennial listener. He was one of the people, who followed me on Snapchat, and he happened to message me the other day with his message, and he had nice things to say about the show. But he also asked an interesting question, and he asked if we could pose it on Millennial. And I said, well, you just snapped me a photo of your dick. Sure, I'll be happy to do that for you. He asked, if there was a perfect clone of you, same age and everything, with preferable genitals, and gave consent, would you have sex with it? And Holden says, I've been sending that around to friends lately, and the diversity of responses has been really interesting. So, would you guys have sex with yourself if it had the genitals that you like to have sex with?
No.
No.
I wouldn't.
Really?
I wouldn't. I don't jive with myself. That's the thing, is I'm very much a case of opposites attract. I like the kind of person that I like in bed is the opposite of me. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, for example, if you're someone who, all right, listen, I'll put it into gold star gay terms for you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So if you're a top, you don't want another top. If you're a bottom, you don't want another bottom. The only way that works is if, you know, you're versatile and you're down with anything, and then obviously you're cool. But I think I have like a preferred dynamic, and so, you know. See what I mean?
I guess, but I mean, you don't look for another something that's equal to a top. If you're a top, I don't know how that would equate to the male
in
female.
straight sex.
Yeah, in straight sex.
Well, for example, some women like to be the ones who are to take control and who are the more aggressive one. You know, or for example, some people like it super just sort of casual and vanilla and chill, and like, we're just gonna missionary our way to orgasm now.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Well, maybe you could talk yourself into being the person that you want them to be. You know, whatever position you want.
I don't think that would ever happen with anybody sharing Elisa's personality.
Okay. All
Just
right.
don't think that's going to happen.
Matt, what's your answer?
I would totally fuck myself.
Well, of course you would. Look at you.
Well, I know. I mean, I just want to see what all the fuss is about.
Okay. You fucking ass. Would you fuck yourself if your other self was a woman?
Yes.
All right. Well,
But
the answer is
that's
always yes.
Yeah, it's always going to be yes. It's always going to be like, why the fuck not? Like, we're human.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun to do once.
I would, wait,
A
Laura,
hole's a
at least
hole,
you
right,
would
Andrew?
you would not have sex with a male version of yourself?
No.
Why?
Okay, well,
Wait, no.
Matt, you know I date Republicans, so that's like an automatic out.
Wow.
Well, okay, but yeah, I guess I see your point.
All right, well, thank you, Holden, for that. I pissed off all the co-hosts by asking that question, but there you go.
you didn't piss us off.
No.
That was fascinating.
Okay, all right. Okay, so Laura, you have a new game for us this week.
That's right. So you guys know that Millennial loves to talk about stories that are hidden from the headlines. Well, this week we're going to kind of combine hidden from the headlines with sort of a game format. It's going to be called Hidden from the Headlines Fake Out Edition. So I have assigned each of my 3 co-hosts with a news blurb from a story that they will read to you. 2 of these stories are real. One of them is fake. The hosts are going to try and guess on air which one they think is the fake story, and we won't reveal what the right answer is until next week. So if you want to play along, don't Google it, you filthy cheaters. But if you don't want to play along and you want to Google it and find out the answer, that's fine, but don't spoil anybody else. We're going to put up a poll in the Facebook group and see what you guys think. Okay. Everybody understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Andrew, you have the first blurb.
Japanese artist Megumi Igarashi is being fined for transmitting images of her genitals that could be reproduced on 3D objects. Igarashi's vag has been reproduced in the form of phone cases and most notably a kayak. Critics looking to sink this vagina kayak artist applauded her prior arrest in 2014 for selling the image of her baby maker to paying recipients. Igarashi has stated that she used to be really uncomfortable with her vagina and even had vaginal rejuvenation surgery. But she says that through her art, she hopes to make, quote, pussy more casual and pop, end quote.
What?
Laura, you should write for a newspaper, I think.
You think?
Yeah.
I like it. Pussy pop.
Pussy pops. All right, Elisa, you have the next one.
All right. A popular park in San Francisco recently reopened with a new feature, an open-air urinal in order to combat the city's public urination problem. Quote, honestly, we were ready to go pee anywhere, said one San Francisco resident. The urinal is a welcome addition to the park, and while it is out in the open, it is reported to provide limited privacy through plants and a screen. Proponents of the new porcelain god are rejoicing that they will no longer be victims of the urine repellent paint the city began using last year, which makes urine spray back on the offender. What?
Oh, I hope this is true. This is what we need.
All right, and Matt, you have the very last one.
Very last. All right. So PETA is facing heavy critiques over a recent social media movement led by a small group of its activists entitled #Instamurder, which seeks to infiltrate the social media presences of prominent local figures and groups associated with farming, breeding, and other practices deemed, quote, exploitive by the animal rights group. Quote, this is how I make my living, said Dave Suttonfeld of Suttonfeld Farms of Indiana. The farm's Facebook page was hacked and flooded with pictures of bloodied, slaughtered animals and #Instamurder. He added, we don't even kill livestock here. PETA has responded, saying they, quote, do not condone or encourage our volunteers to participate in cyber hacking.
All right. Thank you, guys. So I want to give you guys a couple of seconds to think about which one you think is the fake story. And you can go ahead and make your guesses.
I think it's mine. I think mine was the fake story.
I think Elisa's was too.
The toilet story?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want it to be real.
I know. It's what we need.
I'm cheering for it.
It's
San Francisco. I know somebody up there who lives there, and it is so fucking weird that this would not surprise me. I hear these stories about people having sex on beaches, and there's other guys like watching from a distance. There's some weird public displays of dicks going on up there. So this would not surprise me. So I'm gonna actually go with mine because I just can't imagine this situation in which vaginas are being a particular person's vagina is being reproduced on things like a kayak.
And Matt, what do you think?
I already said it was Elisa's.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry. I must have missed that. So we're not going to reveal the answer today. We will reveal it next week, but we will have a Facebook poll up in the group if you'd like to play along at home. Remember, If you Google it and find out the answer, don't spoil it for everybody else. Don't be that guy. Okay? And yeah, or girl. That's right. We don't discriminate here.
Check your privilege, Andrew.
Me?
Yeah, it was my fault. I need to check my privilege.
Check your privilege,
episode.
Laura.
That's right. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see how this goes. And if it goes well, we might play it again on another episode.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like 2 truths, 1 lie.
Yeah.
It's cool because we're going to find out next week that 2 of these stories are fucking real. That's what I'm waiting for. I don't care about the fake one. I didn't want to know which two places in this country are going down the toilet. That's what I want to know.
Okay, it is time now for Surprise Bitch. This is where we call one of our Patreon supporters. Surprise Bitch! Surprise Bitch! Tiara, are you there?
What?
This is Millennial. What's up?
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Sorry, hold on. Sorry, I'm in New York, so I'm not used to.
You're in New York, like the state or the city?
No, I'm in Manhattan right now.
Oh, I was just there. Why didn't I run into you?
Because I just came on Saturday.
It's also a city.
Like you just moved there?
No, I'm here visiting. My husband and I got married, so on our honeymoon.
Oh, mazel tov.
Congratulations!
Oh, thank you.
What are you guys doing there? And is like anything fun?
Well, yeah, my sister-in-law, so my husband's sister, lives in Tribeca.
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice.
So she kind of surprised us and got us a hotel for a couple of days in the Quinn, which is off of West 57th and 8th, I want to say, or 6th. One of the two. But it was a really, really nice hotel. We got the penthouse suite.
That's
nice.
That's really cute. Who are you voting for president?
Wow, Matt, just dive right in.
Well, I'm a Democrat, so I'll either vote for Hillary or Bernie.
Mm. Did you watch the caucus results come in last night?
I did, and I was a little bit shocked by how close it was, but I'm really thankful that it wasn't Trump.
Yeah, it hurt his ego a little bit.
Yeah, and he wasn't really quiet about it either, which I'm happy. I'm happy that we're seeing him being a sore loser.
Are you?
I mean, he's kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning on seeing any shows or anything while you're there in New York?
I have to say I hate musicals. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Me too.
Oh my God, you hate
I'm
musicals?
sorry. I like
with
dance,
you.
so I'm thinking about going to the ballet.
Oh, cool.
Oh, pretty. I mean,
Yeah,
Pretty?
I'm glad you're not going to a musical, actually, because at the top of this episode, I warn listeners how I paid an exorbitant amount of money for 2 drinks at Book of Mormon last week. I was disgusted.
okay, but you were dumb enough not to bring a flask. Like, you have to pregame and then bring something with you.
I know, I will.
Well, pre-gaming is not really a problem for me.
Oh,
I pre-game
why?
like nobody's business because I'm poor.
Oh, so you always pregame, you're saying?
I always pre-game, always.
Mhm.
It's at least a glass and a half of white wine before I go anywhere.
Do you bring flasks everywhere then?
No, but my husband does.
Damn right. I like those flasks.
At our wedding, he just handed out flasks.
That's funny. For people to like pour their own drinks in or something?
No, he handed them out full of Fireball.
Oh, that's fun. All right, well, Tiara, thank you for your support. Have a nice time in New York, and talk to you later.
All right, I'm excited to listen to the episode now.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one.
More than usual.
Cool.
Thanks for answering.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, that was Tiara, and that's what we have for everybody this week. A quick plug for our Patreon. This is the first episode of the month, so that means, not only is it Laura's time of month, but it means that $2 patrons
totally is, too.
have access to this week's installment of After Dark, as well as Hashing It Out. And we're getting close to our next goal on Patreon, and we're looking forward to some other big benefits in the future as we raise more money, including hour-long After Darks and live shows and a whole bunch of other things. So visit patreon.com/millennial. We'll appreciate your support. And also, if you want more information on those benefits, you can go to millennialshow.com and click on the New Year, New Goals post to see what we're planning in the new year.
Does Patreon allow nudity?
Oh, what are you saying? You're going to post nude pics?
No, because this episode got me, I have some ideas.
It's behind a paywall, so I don't see why not, unless one of our patrons reported you for your nude, but...
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. So, okay, cool. Well,
okay.
If you're a Patreon, then be ready.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We need an outro song, and I think we're going to do something from Book of Mormon. What's your favorite Book of Mormon song, Elisa?
Oh man, I don't remember the names, but there was. Oh god, what was it? Oh my god, there's one where. What? Go ahead.
My favorite's Hasadiga Ibai.
Yeah, do play that one.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, fine. There's another one where they're all singing about something about just turn it off.
Yeah,
the lights.
Turn it off. Yeah, turn it off. That's what it is.
That's hilarious.
That's right after Hasadiga Ibai. But we'll play ours this week. Matt and I's pick. Thanks everybody again for listening. Don't forget, $2 People, After Dark and Hashing It Out are available to you this month. On After Dark, we are going to be talking about the feedback from our previous After Dark. We talked about drugs. And we're also going to talk about friends, because me and other people I know need tips on how to make friends. And it really is difficult to make friends these days.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a podcast host. For some reason, it's just much more difficult.
Yeah. I've stopped telling people I do a Harry Potter podcast. I say I do a podcast about millennials.
That probably helps.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I have to tell you guys a story about meeting someone who listened to us, and I worked with her, and she didn't realize that I was the person she had been listening to.
Okay.
I have to tell you guys that story.
By the way, I'm kidding. I love doing MuggleCast, for the record. All right. So thanks everybody for listening.
All right.
I really do. MillennialShow.com, Facebook.com/MillennialShow, and Twitter.com/MillennialShow. And extra plug for our Facebook group, Facebook.com/groups/MillennialShow. We're going to have the Guess Who's Drinking poll, as well as the Hidden from the Headlines Fake Out Edition poll. I'm Andrew.
I'm Elisa.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Matthew.
See everybody next week for Season 2, Episode 5. Goodbye.
Cool.
Bye.
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 Now you try. Just stand up tall, tilt your head to the sky, and list off the bad things in your life.
Somebody took our luggage away. The plane was crowded and the bus was late.
When the world is getting you down, there's nobody else to blame. Raise your middle finger to the sky and curse his rotten name.
Wait, what? Am I saying that? Excuse me, sir, but what exactly does that phrase mean?
Well, let's see. Ibawai means God, and Hasadiga means fuck you. So I guess in English...